William Cline is a senior fellow at the Peterson Institute for International Economics. He's a former deputy director of development and trade research at the Treasury Department, and he joins us now from Washington to talk about China's latest move. Bill, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. First of all, I'm curious. You know, a lot of folks have complained that there aren't enough details in this announcement. What do you think? Is there enough substance behind what China is telling us?
Well, it's clearly not making any commitments at all about how much they would change the exchange rate. But there's a critical change because they're saying that it'll no longer be fixed in exactly 6.8 to the dollar as it has been for the last couple of years. But it is certainly less than some would like to see, and we will simply have to see how rapidly they allow the currency to rise going forward.
Now, in a May commentary, you did write that the lack of equilibrium or the disequilibrium between the yuan and some of the other world currencies, particularly the dollar, was not quite as large as people were thinking it was or were assuming it was. So do you think that this Chinese action was even necessary?
Yeah, absolutely, it is necessary. It's a major imbalance in the international economy. Our own estimates, the estimates that I prepare together with my colleague John Williamson, were for an undervaluation of much larger based on previous information. But it turns out that last year, of course, China's current account surplus went down somewhat. Now, the big question is how much it's going to go back up as the international economy recovers. Our new estimates use the IMF's new long-term estimate of a 8% of GDP current account surplus. We say they need to cut that to only 3% to be good international citizens, and that's going to take about a 15% overall effective appreciation of the yuan. Now, if other countries like Singapore and Hong Kong and Taiwan do their part, and also correct their exchange rates, that could be as much as 25% against the dollar. They did actually appreciate by 21% from 2005 to 2008 before the crisis. So if this is the beginning of another similar pattern over a year or two of a 20% appreciation, that would go a long way to accomplishing what needs to be done.
Well, Bill, do you want to take a stab at sort of trying to estimate if, in fact, we could see a revaluation of that type of magnitude this time around?
Well, as I say, the path of about a 21% appreciation from July 2005 to July 2008 was allowed by the authorities. It's conceivable to me that they could go back to that kind of a rhythm. Clearly, the timing of this announcement is designed to deflect the criticism that otherwise they were going to get at Toronto at the G-20 meeting. There's other things going on here. They've got higher inflation than they've had for a while. They are getting wage increases and strikes, which have been unheard of. So there could be some other forces here. But it seems to me that this at least has a possibility of sort of a replay of the earlier pace. But it's not going to be a 10% overnight appreciation.
Bill, I'm also curious, I've read some commentary today that says now this sort of puts the ball back in the U.S. court in terms of now we sort of have to look in our own backyard and maybe account for some deficit issues that are looming or other economic weakness issues that are looming. Do you think that that's the case? I mean, what's the next move now?
Well, you know, I don't think it really puts the ball back in our court in the sense that it totally delivers on China's part. I would think, you know, one would have to have a much more concrete manifestation that they were actually going to move the rate. A lot of countries, the new phenomenon this time around, you've had countries like Brazil, Russia, India, Japan, all saying that China needs to move. And I think it was that widening front of opposition that pushed them to make this much of a change. Sure, the U.S. on fiscal, I think on the fiscal we have a simple contradiction of philosophies about the risks of recession and the long-term fiscal adjustment. So you've got the U.S. wanting to do the adjustment over time, but not immediately.
All right, William Cline, unfortunately, we're out of time. Bill Cline is the senior fellow and economist at the Peterson Institute for International Economics. Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it.